Yeah. At 4. Yeah. Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday afternoon BOCC. We have Public Works in today, and I'll just turn it over.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. Our first item we have on the agenda today is just a few items from maintenance. The first one is Annex Roof Project. You may have seen some truck traffic around the Annex building. Weather Guard, local contractor, and is doing the roof, re-roofing the Annex. Hoping to get done in the next week or two. They have a deadline of October 31st, but they said they'll finish ahead of the schedule, ahead of that time frame. I know they shut down part of 4th Avenue to get supplies on the roof this morning, but luckily for us, we've had good weather this week for the tear off, and now they're moving into the replacement side. And I know we have some showers next week, but I don't think it's going to impact the schedule at all.
We got a lot going on our 2 roads here right now. With
We do.
City of Kelso and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed this morning we had the right lane shut down, the City of Kelso had the left lane shut down. So yeah, there's one lane of traffic. So you probably also noticed while we're working in the courtyard, Josh from maintenance is trying to get rid of some of the trip hazards between these 2 facilities, getting some roots out of the ground, replacing some bricks, and there's a lot of cracks out there filling those voids in so people don't
I
have.
saw somebody working on it.
Yeah, so figure get it done.
It was a nice design feature 25 years ago when they put it in, but yeah.
Things
Change.
kind of shift and move over time. So, yeah.
Just for my own curiosity, what's the process to close down the street? Like was done?
For us, for short term, we just went ahead and they waste control, or sorry, Weather Guard just coned it off because they're only there for an hour or two. I'm sure the permit process, this actually is a DOT highway on this side, so they have to get a permit from Washington State Department of Transportation. No different than if someone wanted to close down one lane of a county road, they go through Susan's office to shut down one lane, get a permit and make sure.
So we're in a position where you go ahead and ask for forgiveness later.
Well, if it's short term like that.
If it's a problem.
If it's
That's
loading and
kind of the
unloading,
question.
unloading and unloading is usually permitted for what we had to do today. If it's gonna be a longer closure, we do work with DOT. Yeah, so similar to what I'm sure Cascade Natural Gas is doing now with their third party working on the gas lines here in Kelso.
But it sounds like you don't need much lead time and you get the permit.
I don't know with DOT.
You need
With
no
us,
lead
for us,
time?
no, us lead time is fairly
6
short.
days. 6 weeks?
For DOT? Sorry. Ours is a lot shorter than 6 weeks.
So yeah, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So when we're doing work, we get DOT permits up on Spirit Lake Highway because our water line runs up there. It's generally at least a 6-week process. You submit it, you get your approval, then you have to have a pre-construction conference out on site, and then you can start. So for DOT, it's generally a 6-week process. So for a small project, for a county project, so
A county road?
on a county road. So if you're working on a county road and you need a permit, say you're West Longview and you will need a water tap. So somebody building a new home wants a water tap. That process is generally a 2 or 3 day process. They bring it in, our inspector goes out, then there's some coordination and inspections when it occurs. Driveways, it all depends on our crews, how busy they are, our inspection crew, on the timing, because they go out and then do a pre-inspection and are out during inspection and a post-inspection. Driveways and single pushes, laterals are generally a couple days. So on some of our utilities, like a project like this, it may take a week or 2, depending on how busy our crew is.
Who's got the, who does the authorizing? Is it Public Works, the sheriff?
It's Public Works.
Public Works. Okay.
Public Works authorization, it's a county engineer authorization to work in the public right of way. We're my designee, so.
I couldn't help notice that Kelso has done a pretty wonderful job of repaving, particularly some of the roads. And within a month of that being done, the gas company tears it all up. It's just bizarre.
And it is unfortunate. That is why We send out our 6-year plan every year after you guys adopt and approve it, we send it out to all of our utility partners. The overlay doesn't necessarily go on there, but all of our bigger projects, and you trying to encourage them, if you're going to be doing anything out there, please do it before we work, because it is crazy. You put a brand new mat down and they come and cut it. There are some jurisdictions that will give utilities warning. We're going to be out there. You cannot cut it for 2 years unless it's a big emergency. Some jurisdictions do put that caveat on in their franchises and their utility accommodation policy.
Yeah, because once you cut it, even if you patch it up, even the
Yeah.
patch is there and it never syncs up. Just classic.
Might as well stay. Next item we had was just the admin and the annex heat. We've had a boiler replacement 12 days ago, had some issues of some parts. They actually got both boilers up and running this morning. Feels a little bit better in here today. We're still messing around a little bit or adjusting the set points at both locations, but we do have heat in time for winter at both these sites. So cross our fingers. Since Susan's sitting next to me, she's now the president-elect of the Washington State Association of County Engineers. Her term goes through June of next year, I believe, and then after that, she'll be the president.
So does she get a demotion, cut in pay because she'll be spending time elsewhere?
I'll let her answer.
I certainly hope not. And the president-elect, the County Engineers Association, the board holds monthly meetings. They're Wednesday afternoons. They're generally an hour.
Hitting you.
I know. I'm being dead serious today. And then we have 2 conferences, one held at the county leaders and then one generally in June or July is just an engineers conference. And as the president, your county hosts the June event, the one that's not associated with county leaders. They tend to go to the county of the president.
All right, heads and beds. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
That's what you always tell me.
Now, actually, Susan, we had a chance to visit this morning about how to maybe hold the conference here, what hotels to use, what event to go to, what time of year to have it. There's within a month or so, I think they have some leadway there.
New Fairground Hotel will be done.
We talked about that
Yeah.
this morning. We wish.
Like the Fairground Hotel, the one that the Port of Klamath talked about a few times. Yeah, they'll both be up
The
and
Port of
running.
Klamath talked about a hotel?
At some point, there was talk about one put by Kalama River Road, them putting
They're tearing it down, though. They're tearing one hotel down.
yeah, but they were talking about potentially putting in a smaller hotel there for when people come.
Oh, that bustling north.
Yes.
Small business
Park. So I think that has gotten delayed with all of that or rethought. So I don't know. I know that was at one point part of their vision.
If they build a hotel there, probably Kalama will come to us for rural economic development grant to extend the utilities.
Probably.
But they have some utilities there, I'm sure, but probably not.
Enough.
I don't think I remember seeing anything about a hotel there. But
Yeah, I think it was at one point one of their potential diagrams. So
I've been told the commissioners have no utility.
What?
I've been told commissioners have no utility.
no utility. Well, maybe the new ones.
Very good. Before we get to the road fund cash flow,
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Congratulations.
Yes.
That's-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I actually am particularly fond of that because I like competent people and that you are.
Yeah.
thank you.
If you ask nice, Darn might let you use the big gavel.
Did you get a new one that looks bigger than the past, Chairman?
This is one Arn made, so it's the gorilla gavel.
Wow.
It's like Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
You want to maintain order? That's what you use.
Arn's influence will
Yeah.
last for years.
Bears.
Yeah.
Down below, last week you asked about who was using the trap range. And so I asked the Cowlitz Game and Anglers, there's 3 FFA teams, Castle Rock, Tootle, and Kelso currently have teams that are looking to hopefully get more. But they do have an open youth league every Sunday. And this last Sunday, they had 20 youth shooters out there. So it's growing, the youth side of it. So.
Yeah, the sheriff was in yesterday and did he say they have 11 different contracts for the sheriff's range? So it sounds like it's been pretty busy.
It is. You go up there on any given day, there's somebody in the 100-yard range.
Yeah.
Of some agency shooting.
Yeah.
And there's a Cowlitz County shoot on Sunday. So
One of these months it'll actually break even.
This is where Sean takes home the trophy.
They wouldn't let it back.
nope.
They will.
And we did.
It's because the hole's up above the overhang.
He just has to learn how to play below his level.
Correct. Sandbag a little bit. We did pull, purchasing had a chance to go through and try to find a couple state agencies that have contracts with concessionaires for gun ranges so we can start working for 2026. Clark County does have one in place. Ashley sent that to me on Monday. So we're going to go through it and hopefully go out fairly soon, I would say in the next quarter, to look for interested parties to run the gun range starting in 2026.
So what happens to the lifetime memberships?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't really crossed that bridge yet. What do you think, Sean?
Accidents happen.
So I don't know exact number they have of those annuals or lifetimes.
Probably not too many.
Yeah,
Father Time has a way of solving that.
solving that, yeah. So I think Sean and Susan will probably take the lead on the 2025 cash flow because we have quite a bit of money in our account and they want to show you where we're going to be at the end of next year if everything goes as planned. And Susan says we're going to do all our projects next year. So we're good to go.
As
Yeah.
long as nobody goes crazy, which is a potential on one of these projects.
Yeah, in fact,
Or the weather gods behave. That
Yeah,
can
if,
always
if the weather gods misbehave,
redo another Tower Road.
we go, "Wah," and we figure out what we're gonna put our best energy towards. Thank
Then we-
you.
Then we stop, then we
No,
skip,
he printed big.
so
skip chip sealing for a year.
before you go, Mike,
Ooh.
would you repeat, so you're going to present us a business plan for the range? Is what you said essentially?
Well, we're initially just looking, try to find if there's a contract we can maybe copy to a certain extent to see piggyback off, not piggyback, but get a template to see what we want to do concessionaire wise, the do's and don'ts. I know the Washington State Parks has a lot of concessionaire agreements out for renting kayaks, concession stands at a lot of their state parks. We're trying to get a better understanding of how to write a good contract and get one in place so we have a good concessionaire out there in 2026. So the business plan may not be coming from us because we're not really planning on running it as an agency. We're planning on having a concessionaire run the gun range for us.
And that concessionaire would be just some unnamed entity right now. And
Correct.
that's when the Game and Anglers contract ends.
Exactly right. And people get confused when I say concessionaire because I think like food, but the way it's wrote, it's a concessionaire contract, correct? Yes.
So if for example, retired county commissioner wants to move out there on a house trailer and run the concession, that would be a possibility.
If they had a good business plan, was the highest, scoring with the committee, yes, yeah.
Just looking out for you.
Well, I was thinking that'd be terribly dangerous, errant shots. Oh darn, we got rid of another one.
They already like having our old campaign signs. I
They
don't know
do.
what
Yes,
that
right.
says.
They really do,
Yeah.
apparently.
So, right now, do we subsidize the range?
Well, yes. Especially will be another budget amendment coming your way. I should have mentioned that earlier. I don't know when Kathy's next one is. Sometime in October, we'll be coming back. We overspent this year on that budget, unfortunately, getting ready for certain events, but also some cleanup from the RCO grants. And also, we striped out there, we added additional parking, we did some more sidewalk work. We did additional things and overspent our budget, so I apologize in advance. But we do run at a deficit out there, yes. It's a general fund subsidy that assists us in running the operations there. What they collect and share with us from the shooter revenue does not cover our expenses at that location.
Yeah, the thing I look for, and I haven't, it's hard to see in the data I get, it's just, I don't know why. I'm talking to Zoom. Anyhow, what was my train of thought? Train of thought was ephemeral, apparently. I'd like to know what the steady state is. Like, for example, I'd like to know what like if I were going to do a set of columns, it would be for the jail, it would just be, this is our sunk costs.
Mhm.
These are optional things. These are things we bring in. It's just to make it easier to understand.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be very tough not to be forever subsidizing the gun range. And I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying we should know how much.
Yeah,
much that is.
you're right. We have a base cost or expenses out that location, from restrooms to water service to garbage service. Parks and Castle Rock Road crew goes out there quite often to assist on, road repair, for them to be able to go out to use driveways to go put targets out. So we do a lot of work throughout the year at that location, but we have a pretty good idea of what our costs are every year. And so we know to really cover those costs, I think Sean's already looked at, we'd almost have to double or triple the shooter, the fees for someone to shoot out there. And that's not reasonable, because you get to a certain point, people aren't going to shoot out there, and they're going to go shoot in the woods or go shoot on the riverbank or somewhere that's not safe. So yeah, if you're right, there might be a point we might need to subsidize.
But once you get a concession area, they're not going to volunteer their time like the
That-
club is now.
that's
So,
a concern of
that's
ours.
an additional expense that we'll have to, we know the rates are going to have to go up.
Yeah,
They're
and
not-
that,
If nobody's volunteering the time.
correct. Yeah, right now they barely cover cost, and they have a volunteer group.
Mhm.
And so now, when you have someone that's needing to pay staff to run that operation, you're exactly right. There's going to be a lot more cost on the concessionaire side. And so how does it work from our side? Do we have to give them a range of what the daily rate should be for shooting? Because if not, they might skyrocket where they have nobody going there, and then we lose a concessionaire. So it's going to be a tough contract to put together, I believe.
Just for entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm not serious about this at all. We could fix the problem by outlawing shooting in the county. No.
Oh, that'll work.
I think we're in the wrong county for that.
So Warren, was that a suggestion from the chairman? Was that a suggestion from the chairman?
Oh.
I thought that was going to be you guys' last act as you walked out the door, last meeting, last act.
No fireworks, no guns. no.
Unfortunately, I think they would put my campaign sign before me when they use it for a backing.
I routinely hear my neighbors around me, and I don't care.
Yeah.
You hear them out there, they're shooting. I think the last act should be dynamite.
Yeah, we don't wear.
That's what I think.
New concessionaire they might want to sell stuff on site. They, unfortunately, being out of site where the location's at might be tough to keep. You might have to bring a trailer in to be able to sell ammo or guns or whatever. There's so many restrictions on doing that. It'd have to be currently probably a gun owner or a gun shop in town that wants to expand their operations to have something out there. I think it's going to be a challenging find for us to find the
Yeah.
perfect vendor for us to be out there with us. I know the sheriff's office does a great job on the 100-yard range. I've playfully told, the sheriff's office would be great if you guys have ran the whole thing, but I don't think they're super interested in taking that whole thing over.
I wonder, it'll be kind of interesting to me to see who actually applies for that. I think of like the gun shop in Castle Rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then they could sell their goods and do their stuff, maybe the type of fit.
Correct.
Right. You know,
Well, that would be an SAO field day, I think, if you had a gun shop operating it, making sure there's not a mixture of public and
Yeah.
private funds.
Yeah.
Because if they're selling product, but taking gun feet,
Yeah. There'd be a lot.
That'd be a
It'd
challenge.
be a pretty challenging contract to write, but
yeah.
I think we're gonna be up against it no matter what. We just hope about someone does even interested. It might be the case, we get to the end of next year and there's no one interested in taking over the gun range. And then there's gonna be a question up to the commissioners then of, no, what do we do? Does it turn into a true park? Or we have to have a staff member run that if we still want the facility open? That's a bridge we'll have to cross down the road, but there's certainly a possibility that will happen.
I'm not saying you can't close it, but it may be kind of difficult because you got high schools using it now. You just heard 11 different contracts through the sheriff's office.
Yep.
Using it. It would
Yeah,
be
actually,
difficult to shut down.
yeah, I'm not suggesting anything close to shutting
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, though, we are accountable to the public and they should know, what it is it's costing.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I have this argument between tangible and intangible. The intangible is rather substantial.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thank you.
If we did close it, Dick Green would come right out of the grave.
What last name did you use?
What was his?
Miller.
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 Dick
Yeah.
Miller. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It takes me a long time to say processing,
Yeah. I can picture him in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. One of those personalities you don't soon forget.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Sean Railway, Public Works. Before you today, we just have a roads estimated cash flow for 2025. I think the first thing we want to do is recognize that we have some money in the road fund. We want to tell you how we're going to spend it over the next year and get it back down to a reasonable value. So as of today, in the road fund, we have about $15 million in cash. By the end of the year, we expect to be about $18.8 million. Over the next year, we would hope to complete 13 projects, plus some small ones and some design projects.
So 1.5 FEMA is inside that 18.8.
Yes, sir. So FEMA in 2022 changed their small project threshold from a couple $100,000 to $1 million. So they front us the cash on all projects up to $1 million. And so we do have a few projects for that, Italian Creek, Bates Road, and Butte Hill Road. And so those are the main contributors to that.
It's up to you to choose which ones, and they have last approval.
No, excuse me. So they approve the projects and we run a cost estimate prior to the project approval. And if it's under that 1 million threshold, they provide you with the amount of your cost estimate. At the end of the projects, you need to do a project accounting. And if you by chance come in under, mazel tov, you get to keep the money. If you come over by a certain percentage, you can request additional funds. And if they have funds available, they could potentially provide you extras. So their thought is, and it's the sum total of your small projects for that event. So in this event, we had 3 small projects. Our total aggregate was 1.5. Let's say that all of them were $500,000 to make math easy for me. One of them comes under by $100,000, one comes over by $100,000, and the other comes over by $5,000. They'd say, you broke even. Now, if the aggregate, all of them came over by $100,000, we could go back and ask for the additional 300. But if you had one came over, the other two came under, and your balance was about what you had, they will not give us extra money. That's the way.
It's a pooled amount.
It's a pooled amount because it's easier for their math,
Yeah.
their accountants. And we have less paperwork when it's a small project versus a large
Mhm.
project.
So only one of those projects are on the list for next year. I'm assuming we've done the other ones, Butte
This-
Hill and,
So Butte Hill is lumped in the small projects. Italian Creek is on the list. And what was the other one? Bates. Bates potentially, Bates, we're having interesting permitting issues with. So I would love to do it next year, but I don't think I'm going to have the permit in time to do it in the fish window.
but you have the money to do it.
Yes, I have the money to do it, but our intention is
What's
to
the
do it.
permitting problem?
It's reinforcing the whole Kalama River bank. So Bates Road is right up against the Kalama River. The shoreline is eating away Fish and Wildlife. Our original plan was just to reinforce the upper portion, stay out of the water, move on. Now they want us to go all the way down below the ordinary high water mark, so it's making permitting more challenging and what they'll agree to letting us do. So we are still working on the project and moving it forward. If we move it forward enough that I can advertise and get it done next summer, I would really like to prevent it to keep moving towards the road.
And I think that's a good segue too. As we continue to apply for FEMA grants, those dollars will continue for these smaller projects to be inclusive of our cash balance.
And that extra money doesn't go into the general fund, I suppose.
No, it comes directly to the road fund. I'm hopeful that we're not going to be applying for any more money because the weather gods are going to behave.
I like that. Yeah. And so going through this, we have our normal taxes, our estimated timber, we have increased that up to 1.25 million. Our motor vehicle fuel tax, intergovernmental, ARPA for projects that you have contributed ARPA dollars to, and then miscellaneous and grants revenue. I do want to point out between ARPA and grants that Susan's team has accumulated almost $14 million in revenue coming in on that side, which is extremely good. And then on the expenditure side, we have our normal labor and benefits, supplies, services, and then I called out some of our larger ones for ER&R. That's our vehicle fund, our overlay projects, chip seal, striping, things of that nature.
So for the revenue from timber, is that a portion of the timber tax that you share with the general fund, or is that revenue from timber harvests from our trust fund?
Yeah, my understanding is that, I'm sure Deborah Gardner could go a lot better on this one. There's tier 1, 2, and 3 that are applied across the levies. We're tier 3, so tiers 1 and 2, the schools and small districts and things like that get their money first. We get what's remaining. And if there's excess, we get a little bonus.
But it goes into roads, not other things.
I believe general fund and roads both get it. It's based upon the levy values, is my understanding.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. And so our goal at the end of this year is to be.
You can't cross the T if you don't put the T in, Expenditures.
Spell check.
But L&B stands for?
Labor and benefits.
Oh,
So it's gonna be all of our staffing and all the medical, social security, PERS, all the good jazz that goes with our employees.
and that's what you have in the books because you have represented groups and you know what that's going to be. But for the unrepresented, that may change.
Yeah, this is based off the estimate that OFM provided during the budget season.
So, yeah, I didn't see an entry there that says the executive director expects a raise.
County engineer.
Well, the county engineer, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to present this to the board. you know, with the understanding that we know we have a lot of dollars in there, but we do have a plan moving forward and want to make sure that that's been communicated with y'all.
And the supplies in February, you're planning a shipment?
Yeah, so in
Right.
February, that bump up is in preparation for the paint and glass beads for the striping program.
That's when you'll take over striping.
That's when we'll order paint.
That's just the paint?
Paint and beads, yes, sir.
Okay, you had a plan to do for Public Works to take over striping, right? And that's included in here now?
Yeah, so in May, for the $800,000 on the equipment line towards the bottom,
At the bottom.
Oh, there we
that's the
go.
purchase of a striping equipment.
Yeah.
I am hedging our bets here a little bit on both sides that we may or may not be able to get that first year accomplished in whole. And so I do a outside striping in here as well.
So $3 million overlay, that's bigger than we've usually done, isn't it? That's
Mhm.
that's a big expenditure.
We did 2.2 million this year. So we
Does that-
did bump
does
it
that-
up.
Does that cover our parking lots? Our neighboring roads?
County roads only.
Uh,
And then you'll see chip seals split into two. The first one, of course, is the purchase of the oil rock, and that's delivered to our sites. And then the second half of that, the 1.5 is the purchase of the road oil itself. And once again, this is,
So if it all goes as you plan, you'll go from just under 19 million in cash down to a little over 6.
yes, sir.
And where do you like to be?
I like to be at 7.
Okay.
Dennis, Commissioner Weber probably remembers 6 was our goal that we agreed upon before Sean.
60%, yeah.
Yeah, it was 6 million was what we had discussed, what, 2014, 15, when we set a goal.
That was in reaction to the fact that they had 100% reserve
And
Mhm.
built up, and it was like,
so just educate me, how do you come to that? Does that cover like basic stuff? Is that how you came to it?
Yeah, it's basic stuff for,
the recommendation, I think, that convinced us, you need to have enough to cover those emergencies.
Mhm.
And the rest of
Okay.
it is, you just don't know, what damage is gonna happen, and so some flexibility, so. 60% is a pretty generous figure for most funds anyway, for a reserve.
All right.
But with roads, that was good. Now, that was, of course, staff found out that there's an option to take money, shift money from the road fund to the general fund. We were doing that for, over the course of about 6 years, we were doing that, and finally
Yeah.
got it reasonable, and
And then also,
so I appreciate this. I was kind of expecting something like that to come about, just because we've had this extra money coming in recently, and a
Well,
lot of
the other
projects.
hand was providing the landfill income.
Yeah.
and to go back to the value too, most of our funding is through taxes, and taxes are twice a year. And we see most of that money in the end of April, beginning of May. And so we do have quite a long time period to cover with our reserves as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I get it. I just, it sounds like you established this in 15. Did I hear 15? And prices haven't gone down. So I guess my question is 7 million, is that reasonable? It sounds like it's reasonable. So,
Because taxes, the revenues have gone up up a bit.
The revenue line miscellaneous, that's interest on your fund?
Yeah, that's the catch-all. Most of it's going to be investment interest earnings from our cash balances, yes.
Yeah, so you're expecting about 500,000. That's conservative, but that may be the appropriate thing to do.
We are seeing interest rates drop currently, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say what they're going to actually look like.
So the one category that has to be used on roads is the motor vehicle excise, the gas tax, right? Constitution of the state requires those dollars to go into highways. So that's down there on the fourth or the third line. The second line, or the first line, is the property tax revenue, correct, source, which is designated for those outside the cities.
Yeah, and I did roll a few items in there, both CAP and RAP and motor vehicle fuel taxes are all discretionary funds from the state to us.
The 208,000 that you picked, how'd you pick that?
I annualized the total value the state estimated.
And you just
There's going to
divided
be,
it by 12.
yeah, there's ebbs and flows throughout the year.
Yeah.
But it's to be consistent across the board. Similar to the actual capital projects, we took our estimated construction periods. There will be ebbs and flows on those as well, but we want to have a rough and simplified cash flow projections here.
And the other thing that's always very hard to know is how much DNR is going to generate because they have to sell the trees.
Mhm.
Well, if they've sold a lot, it's 40 years before they get more money from that acre. So
Yeah, it'll be great one year and then
they don't believe in sustained yield for us. Whereas it's only 11,000 acres, so that's pretty
Yeah.
tough to maintain.
So the CAP, that stands for? KAPP?
County Arterial Preservation Program. No, program's not, what's the other P? County Arterial Preservation. Oh, what's the other P?
I think it's program. Yeah.
Okay,
Program.
That's a small amount, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything in there, like, hopefully nobody will misunderstand. I'm not advocating electric vehicles, but there's no allowance in here for a tax license that you pay for an electric vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Isn't
Okay.
there a portion that we get back as part of one of those? Because there is a fee that they pay that I believe they push back to the counties unless the state keeps it all.
It could be buried in motor vehicle fuel tax or some of the other discretionaries in there.
A clear answer, as of now, we don't receive anything unless it's a fuel sale.
I would need to come back with a better answer for you.
Okay.
So the preservation fund is a CRAB program administered through CRAB.
Yes, and we
So
were
it's crab cap.
crab cap and we report on it every year as
At
part of
least-
our overlay funding.
At least they weren't creative and had the county road arterial preservation fund. 'Cause then you know what that would mean. You'd call it that anyway.
I got to admit, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Clear and sensible.
was having a conversation with today, in fact, on our county roads and I think you guys do a great job with them. And I'm not picking on the cities. Cities have more concentrated use than we have and they don't have a lot of the funding sources that we have, but you can tell when you cross lines and I think you've done a good job with that out there. I rarely ever get complaints on county roads. Long shot isn't out there shooting them up.
That's all I had for you today. Thank you.
And unless you guys have anything else for us, I believe that's all we have for y'all.
How's your staffing?
Well, we are still not having any success with the engineers. We are actively interviewing for the construction manager position that you are allowing us to fill before Gary retires. So we've had interviews last week. We have had a couple this week and have a few more this week, and we'll do coming up on second interviews. We've got some good candidates that we're excited about. With the engineering, we're still struggling.
You know, we had a brief conversation before, and I don't know if it's worth looking at, is you use outside engineers for some specific stuff, and I don't know if that would, if an RFP to help in this interim, because I know Susan's backlogged with all kinds of nonsense, right?
Correct. And we also discussed different ways, different jobs, job descriptions in the office with you, I believe last week or week before, and
Right.
visit a little bit with Susan about that. We're working at new job descriptions now to maybe bring in an assistant county engineer and hopefully have an executive session with you guys on Monday to maybe look at the next step there. Replacing one of the two engineer spots she has open with an assistant county engineer, and then still try to recruit for an engineer on the side.
You absolutely understood my question.
Yes.
I wanted a progress report.
Yeah.
So we all got back from vacation time and had a chance to visit this week about that. And I think Savannah had a chance to visit with HR, pulled the old job description that Susan used to be the assistant county engineer, to look at what changes we want to make in there, and then come back to you guys with some recommendations next week.
And facilities and maintenance? Director?
Yeah, not filling the manager position and just maintaining status quo with them reporting to me.
So we don't need a director there then?
No, we do not. No. The plan is to, I plan to stay in this position with the public services director with the maintenance under the umbrella of Public Works. Just having that small group continue to report to me directly, and I'll stay in that position until I see as I don't have time. But for right now, it's with all the big projects we got going on between HOJ and around the county. To bring somebody in, we'd still be knee deep into most of these projects. So I felt that I don't really need another layer there. That I like to stay hands on. So
we can't give you HHS? It wouldn't be you.
I think what you're doing there is probably certainly a benefit to the county, but it's also probably a useful thing because a little more focused effort, it leads to better satisfaction. I used to carve a project out for myself. Also, it's almost like that.
correct. Yes. Yeah. As you know, we've had a lot of discussions about HOJ, starting with the HVAC, but what to really do with that whole facility and all the departments that live in HOJ. The can's been kicked down the road for so many years. And that's why our team's really been knee deep to figure out what are the next steps, where should we be in 5 or 10 years if it's that location or somewhere new. So like I said, it's a pretty big task to take on, and along with our daily facilities maintenance projects we have, and try and maintain and preventative maintenance that we have. Like I said, to bring somebody fresh from outside the county and try to get them up to speed, I feel it would take a little bit too much time. That we'll just continue with our effort. So.
And then you also had purchased a software package. How's that going? Oh, it's Savannah's turn.
Well, she's coming up real fast. You talked about parking lots. We did get our first quote just to see where it is for budget for the north parking lot. So next week, or I think it's 2 weeks, we come in to talk about our 6-year road and our 5-year capital plan. We'll be discussing the north parking lot at that point there. So
I think you're referencing Brightly
I think
that
so.
replaced Facility Dude. So it's a different work order system. Is that?
It was more like a project estimator software. I thought there was for accounting for Public Works.
Oh, for Public Works, for WinCams. Oh, cool. Yeah. We're still grinding away at WinCams. We are in the process of creating templates and doing practice workflows until we kind of run that process side by side our current process. What I was trying to, how do I say this? We're still in the development phases of trying to integrate with PeopleSoft. As the board's aware, we've had some turnover in IT. So right now, Public Works staff is working on creating all of our internal templates and all of our project templates that we can have front loaded for when IT is ready to go live with us. So we're kind of just doing all that back end work and training at this time in preparation for going live, hopefully. We had a go live date of January. I'm not sure that we'll make that because of our integration with PeopleSoft. And then, the folks who left and
at least, two more questions.
Oh,
The,
yeah.
The easy one is to date, what you've seen, you've had a chance, you buy something and
Oh,
you
yeah.
really start to
Mhm.
look at it and you say, or smart move.
Yeah, I think so. We've been training for probably 5 months. And we train every other week for half-day blocks. I'm not always able to be there. Sean's not always able to be there, but all of our frontline staff who will be training have been really working towards it. And so far, we're pretty happy with it.
Do you have somebody putting a user manual together?
So actually, Aaron, who is our contact, who's actually the person who not pitched, but did a lot of our work on the proposals and the presentations. He's still involved. He's our trainer. And so because WinCam's so customized to the county, our training book or manual will actually come from once our training is complete. Because then all of our templates will be included, all of kind of our customization with PeopleSoft will be included. So that should come near the end.
Yeah, I might argue a little bit with you, but there are a couple of thoughts, but let me move on to my next question. Well, no, actually, and I think you said is a customization is something that always makes me nervous. We customize everything, yet I know there are at least 35 other public works
Yes.
county departments.
Yes, so I said that, but I don't mean like custom software or programming. What I mean by customization is, you're correct. So all of our counties have, certain accounting language that we have to follow, bars. I'm sure you're familiar with that. But all of us do things a little differently, surprisingly. We all kind of outline things differently. Some counties call things different names. So for example, one county will call it
Let me stop you there.
bars.
So that's all understandable, but I'm wondering if this is not an opportunity to find out if there's commonality in these areas between the other counties and just say, from tomorrow on, we're not driving on the left side of the road, we're driving on the right side of the road.
Yeah, we've had a lot of opportunities to kind of trim the fat, so to speak. Like, hey, do we need to do it this way? What do other counties do? And because Aaron is kind of a one-man show on that front, he'll say, well, Whatcom does it this way. Or you should try looking at how, and a lot of the comparable counties that we are with in population size, he works with. So he gives us recommendations on how he thinks we should do things based off of how he's made these templates for other agencies like us. So does that help?
Oh, yeah, that helps a lot. It's a fine line that gets traveled because on the one hand, you want software to represent how you do your task. But then the question is, how you do your task? Does it have to be that way?
Right.
And so you just have to decide which is the smartest long-term solution on
Agreed.
that.
So in other words, when you hear the word customization,
Yeah.
your feelers go up, because does that mean keeping the old inefficiencies?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And what-
because we're comfortable, we know how to do it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the next question is hypothetical. PeopleSoft serves some functionality that you use. Assuming that you don't need that functionality for some reason, can we cut PeopleSoft off of you and you can still operate?
With WinCams, yes.
With what?
With WinCams, yes. The only thing we couldn't do is print checks, current state. If we had to, we could probably get it to do that too.
Right, and what you use PeopleSoft for is for all the HR and paycheck and all.
Yep. Yeah,
all that
there are
kind of stuff.
certain functionalities of PeopleSoft that, we're bound to use. So job data is one of them. It kind of, it's programmed to give the raises.
If
and-
not PeopleSoft, it'll be another
Yeah,
program that
exactly.
can be added
It might
right
be a
into
more
the.
manageable program.
Could be. A lot of entities use.
Yeah.
I'm asking this for, the chairman will have to deal with this at some point. I think it'd be a win to get PeopleSoft out. at some point.
Sometimes customization, there's a different way to look at it too. I think in this particular case, you're spot on. When we did went to a new software vendor for operating our financial institution. It had the ability, and they had a name for them. Our IT people would be able to set a task in it to do something we did special, and then that became a marketable item that you could sell to other users if they wanted to use it. It didn't affect other users' platforms unless they installed it. But it was flexible enough to have some creative things, and you could actually market the stuff.
That is always a good thing for the private sector to do. Here, it's good to have that in mind because it forces a discipline on how you develop the product. It's got to be saleable. But it'd be wonderful if the other counties, just said, here, use this.
Yes, and that is a great thing, and I'm not here to sell WinCams, we already bought it, but we get that opportunity for what they've built with other counties. They don't charge us to do currently any of those extra things that they've already created, because they've already created them. So that's also an opportunity for us when he's like, hey, Wacom does XYZ in this receipt, do you guys want to do that? Oh yeah, show us, so that's really cool to capitalize on that as well.
I think part of the thinking, and I'm only guessing, is the people that we bought that software from, they figured, there's other smart people out there that might come up with something that improves our product. We're not the only ones that should be able to do it. So,
The smart in the marketing department is there.
Yeah.
Well, I like everything I hear.
So far, so good.
So actually, one thing, you did mention you have to interact with PeopleSoft. That has puzzled me a little bit when people say that, because you've got application program A that wants to interface to application program B, and the internet is full of such interactions, and program A has a published API, and program B has one also, and you just decide which one you're going to use. But a lot of the RDBMSs, which PeopleSoft is, there are already standards out there where they spill out the schema,
Yes.
and hopefully you're not working too hard to do the mashing.
No, we're ready to go as far as our interactions with PeopleSoft. We're waiting for our IT staff to have the time and capacity to just start. So
And who's going to support the
WinCams.
WinCams? Yeah.
So our IT staff, do you have more information on the annual licensing? I just mean like, as far as, I guess is your question like which IT staff is going to support it, or how will we be supporting it?
Which IT staff? Yeah, I'm not asking about who's paying for it. just
Okay,
yet.
that's unknown at this point. Our original IT staff group that was part of this project, they're no longer here. So same with the auditor's office. We did have, Brooke was involved in the very beginning. She's left. So the original project team is pretty much Public Works. And so we're kind of trying to re-educate some other staffs from other divisions on what's going on. So I don't have the answer for that.
Does WinCams have a user group?
Yes, they actually have a conference going next week. We're not attending, but
It might be early to attend, but at some point okay.
yeah, it's nice to be able to reach out to other counties. And we did a lot of that front end work when we were trying to secure a good product. We did a lot of research like, hey, what do you use? What does it interface with? So that's been really nice because they'll kind of tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so many of them still use WinCams after 15, 20 years, which is a good sign because they didn't have a lot of negative things to say after that amount of time. So we have them as contacts as well. You look like you have another question.
I'll pass.
Sean wanted to answer that.
I was operating under orders.
Okay. Anything else?
Did you want to talk some more on this?
We can. Like I said, Sean was eager to answer your next
I'm very
question. so-
sensitive to tying people up for stuff.
Oh.
Like, on something like this, there's an issue. You're going to be paying about 15% of the purchase price annually for maintenance on the product.
I think it might be less than that. Is it about 15%? Okay. I would too. I'd have to look.
Yeah, if
That
it's more
sounds
than
right.
15%, that's probably abusive. Less than 10% is like, I haven't heard that in years.
Where'd you come from? Yeah, yeah.
And so that gets you from the manual says I can do this. I tried it and your darn thing blew up. You go to them.
hmm
But then you may have issues at home that you want to change and you don't have the expertise in the house to change it. I'm hoping that you don't really go that route. But if you do need something where you cannot avoid, but customizing it, I would hope you could get a contractor. And anyhow, I would still urge you, try not to customize. Do a life cycle analysis on any of the modifications you do. And yes, a lot of it is, oh, yes, okay.
I'll be more careful when I say customized too. I was mainly referring to like how we customize our time cards and, like the templates, not so much, but I completely hear you. I hear you what you're saying.
Nevertheless, I look forward to having someone on your staff who's very familiar with the tool and can make it sing and dance. So I, as a new employee, I'm going to walk in and I don't know what to do with the thing. Who do I call?
I could tell you.
Call Sean.
We actually have two staff people who've been involved from the very beginning, and I'm happy with how much they've been involved. So that's Tiffany and Sam. So those are those two people. We have that option now. So, and I'm sure I'll come back at some point and not have such rainbow reviews. Maybe we'll have an issue here and there. So, but for right now, it's been going well.
Good deal. Did you listen to the meeting at all yesterday? There was quite a bit of landfill stuff, so I was just.
There was. I was actually at a tour at the jail with the sheriff's office, and I got a text from staff.
Use the jail.
Yeah.
From staff saying that you may want to jump on. So I got like the last 15 minutes or so, but I'll go back to watch.
Oh, no, the commissioners are going off the rail again.
No, it wasn't, no.
Yeah.
They said there was landfill discussion is all it said. So
I called Department of Ecology nitwits and got Commissioner Ware was going.
We have our issues with them until we need them.
correct.
Yeah. So.
Rick, that could get you into trouble though, because you're letting out a state secret.
Yeah, I know. They've been holding on to that for a while. But, I thought it was a good discussion. I think we were pretty adamant that we love having the landfill. We think it's a great asset, and we're not ashamed to utilize it and take funds from it.
Good.
I think, holy cow, any county that can get 7 million or 7.5 million put into the budget from commerce activities and not just stealing out of somebody's wallet, you ought to be lauded and applauded for that. So.
Correct. Yeah. It sounded like a lot of discussion might have started around SWAC and membership and kind of grew from there. So yeah, we're hopefully get more members on that also.
It started there, but I think
Yeah.
the real focus was they want money shared.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, for some reason or other, they had said like $7.5 million. Where's our fair share?
Yeah.
And I reminds me of that Mark Twain thing where Mark Twain is talking to one of his neighbors on the veranda, and Mark Twain has his back to the street, and the neighbor is looking at Mark, and he sees another neighbor driving brand new automobile, which at that time was black, because we're talking about 1915-ish or something like that. And the neighbor says, "There goes old so-and-so. They say his money is tainted." And Twain says, twice tainted, taint mine and taint yours. And I think they ought to keep that in mind.
Anyway,
Yeah,
I don't mind those conversations. I thought it was good conversation. It's good stuff for the public to know and understand how we operate that thing. And
Yeah.
I actually think we do a real fine job with it, so.
well, I think we do too. I mean, it's a challenge for staff, as you know. We have a limited team and this is pretty much adding one or two more members. This is our landfill team also. Not just maintenance and public works. We wear a lot of hats as a team and want to make sure we do things correctly and keep the commissioners happy, but also all the other agencies that we have to keep happy to run a landfill. Unfortunately, for other agencies or cities that want a fair or a share of the revenues, always figured, we go on the liability. You guys already heard this. You already probably have the same feelings, but we're the ones that have to deal with the agencies. We had to do the early starts. We have to, work around schedules. We have to worry about 120 trucks and garbage and eagles and horses and ecology and Southwest Clean Air and all these other things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And those agencies don't. So I think that what we do is great as a team, and I want to continue that as long as we possibly can up there. And the money we make for the general fund, I'm proud that we make it for you guys to help out everybody in this facility and HOJ and everybody else who relies on the general fund.
And there's an important element to, we can go chasing grants and all that. The money from the landfill is earned money.
Right.
And a service is really provided. And the customer has a choice. They can go elsewhere.
Yeah,
They can, and we worked hard with our, we've had different partners in the middle of the landfill with us. It used to be the Willis Brothers and Waste Control, and now it's Waste Connections, and try and get our wait times down from, 2 hours, hour and a half, and now we're down in the 30-minute wait time from scale in to scale out. Getting a third tipper at the landfill and pressing on them to make sure we have that on site. Luckily for now, because one of the tippers is down, so we were running 2. If we were only down to 2 and running 1, you may get phone calls why the wait times are so long at the landfill. So there's little things behind the scene that we try to do to try and make the landfill better and better for the customers that come to us from Mason County, from Lewis County, from the coast, to keep our landfill rates low for all the individuals in Cowlitz County. That's why I figure our share back to the cities is your rates are $55 a ton. And that's your contribution because we subsidize from the outside.
Transfer fees too.
Correct.
Yeah. Commissioner Weber did a good job of pointing out that our rates are low. We're only one other county is even close to where we're at.
And that's probably
Yeah. Everything else from the sheet I saw was like triple digits. So
factors.
yeah.
The contract with Waste Control expires
44.
in 44. So still 20 years to go.
Yeah.
I was only off by a decade. And that's a contract that each of the cities signed with Waste Control.
I'll get Sean getting more involved there.
So the county's the only signer on the waste control contract. There are interlocal agreements with the solid waste management plan and other items that bound the cities at that point in time.
So if you were the city of Longview, you can take your trash elsewhere, right? You don't have to use Waste Control.
Under the current interlocal agreement, any changes made would have to be made by unanimous of all signers of the agreement.
Unanimous of,
All cities and county.
so if Longview.
They don't have the freedom to leave unless we all agree.
Correct, yeah. The interlocal agreement introduced flow control through our transfer station.
Well, given that we are the cheapest on the planet,
Anyway, I just thought it was a good conversation and
Oh.
might be worth taking a peek at.
I'll definitely watch that.
Make sure we didn't give out any wrong information.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up.
it was 1.7 1.6 we lost last year or lost?
1.3
revenue?
last year?
I think 1.3 and you're estimating 1.6 this year.
We're estimating 1.6
Right,
this
that's
year.
it,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for the comments.
So, we are subsidizing it. The general fund is subsidizing it? Or it's part of the cost of operations?
The landfill is subsidizing the transfer station by 1.6 million every year.
So to the extent that keeps the costs to the ultimate household customer down, that's a good thing. Because we're making the money. Where would that money go otherwise?
correct. That would, if you did, money wasn't going there. I mean, if you say you're breaking even there, that'd be 1.7 million back to the landfill, yes. But we also know that down the road, the rate, our lease will probably increase at the county level also. You know, when there's new appraisal done at the landfill and you decide that 7.5 million needs to be 8.5 or $9 million, we'll need that loss at the transfer station to help cover that lease payment to the county. Because I don't expect it to stay at 7.5 million for the next 5 to 10 years.
I think I know where you're driving, but it makes me really uncomfortable because like we take the 7 million into the general fund, and for that we fund law and justice that everybody gets, regardless of which.
But if our long-range goal is to keep rates low for the owners of the landfill, which are the people, you know, I mean, that's where we go back and forth, because I don't have a problem jacking up the rates for the outside customers because we're lowering their costs through the savings of lower transportation costs. I get that part, but
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's, you know, it kind of all goes into the mix.
Yeah, and we understand that side of the commission. We're also trying not to recoup all the losses at the transfer station. We know we'll probably run a loss there. Our goal, even with our small increases, we're still going to be losing $1 million a year, even if governance committee and SWAC agreed to have the increase that Sean put together. It'd still be $1 million a year loss there. So we're still trying to help those citizens to keep our rates low locally. Correct.
Yeah.
We did have a question, Sean, that we didn't have the answer to yesterday, and that is, when are the bonds scheduled to be paid off?
I have no idea. That's through OFM.
Because it got
It's another 10
We-
years or.
Yeah,
They
we removed it
refunded
out of
them.
landfill.
2 years ago.
I'm not sure. Yeah, when they were, when we started with the lease payment, the bonds were held by the general fund, and so that's not of our department.
They're 20 years.
Started at 14 and 15, 2014 and 2015 or something like that. They were bond A and bond B. I don't know why, but
I thought did we rebond the. Yeah, refunded just a few years back for different rates.
oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how long.
But
those were for.
2015 plus 20 gives us another 11 years or so.
Yeah, I don't know if they restarted the clock or what they did with when they refunded. That'd be a great question to ask OFM.
Kathy, question, okay.
Yeah. And we should know that too, so we'll ask the question for you.
Well, it's more for the general fund because that's.
Yeah, but
that's
we could
what we're
ask
paying it
that.
out of. That means we get more than the.
But people will ask us that question too, how much more years you have on the bond payment. They don't know if it's general fund or landfill at that point.
Yes, we were trying to remember yesterday, we thought the last estimate we had on life expectancy was right around 80 years.
It's a little lower now, isn't it?
So we're 2082 was our last estimate.
2082,
Correct.
so that's about 58 years. Okay, then we were quoting a little high. All right.
But that's the crude estimate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The
I'd-
effective estimate is going to be more like 80.
Yeah,
That's our estimate for our
For no replacement.
our fundings and for post-closure and closure, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
What's coming down our way with landfill roof regulations? Anything hot?
I don't know, anything in Olympia, Sean?
So there's a lot of legislation that didn't pass last year that we'll probably see this year for more pros, for when manufacturers take responsibility for certain items. We'll probably see more of that again next year. Currently, we just had the implementation of the new methane gas. We are participating in that. Organics is always a hot topic. We may see some more changes on that. We've seen multiple changes on that in the prior years, and I'm sure that'll continue to have amendments as long as their goals continue.
And we can anticipate some sort of an impact from once Divert gets up and rolling in Longview. Although they're based on bringing in food from outside the region, but it's still designed to take food waste from.
Correct. They've reached out to us about tonnage and where to take their leftovers, which is mainly the packaging that they receive when they take their perishables out. So plastics, styrofoam, stuff like that. And it sounds like it's a fairly significant amount that they're estimating next year.
Yeah. So we're still working through the details to see, which jurisdiction is going to apply their authority and such things like that. But they're estimating 30,000 tons. This was the last number I heard.
Not a huge amount though.
It's a good chunk, yeah.
But it's certainly more expensive to deal with than municipal solid waste. Therefore, a rate could be higher.
Well, it's in counties. I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, it's going to depend if Longview authorizes their jurisdiction over it, because that'll run through the transfer station at that point in time. And if they choose not to, then we could do a direct negotiation with them or apply our in-county rate of $30 a ton.
Not that it means anything. At first glance, my instinct about the business is they're putting a lot of money in, and I doubt they'll ever recover it. I did want to ask, does anybody let me back up. The methane gas is a useful product. And I don't think the EPA or DOE has anything to say about it if some company said, hey, I'll take your gas, whatever condition this is, because I turned that into high quality blah, blah, blah. Do we RFP and ask if anybody wants that gas?
So we do get contacted from time to time by people looking to do RNG projects there. We're still hopeful that in the new year, we may be able to work with the PUD on another item. I think we want to keep that option open.
But I'm thinking something where we don't have to do anything. The guy drives up with a pressurized a truck and a pump and just says, drains all the gas, or they install a facility there. The quality of the gas is something you're not concerned about as long as it's got, 85% methane or, something like that. Because they, in their processing, will take care of all that other stuff.
I think I understand what you're saying now.
I beg your pardon?
I think I understand what you're saying now, or asking. I don't have a clear answer for that. It's probably going to be still a deep dive with ecology and Southwest Clean Air to make sure that we're following our permits as well at that point.
Yeah, Southwest Clean Air is going to be on anything you do anyhow. But like if they take whatever it is you have and it spits out a little block of manure that you don't use and the product that they want, it would be a thing of beauty not to flare off the gas.
Correct. Yeah, and as Sean mentioned, we get approached once a month, twice a month from outside companies asking what we're doing with our gas. And of course, our response the last 2 years has been working with our local PUD. We're hoping that maybe have one more push with them at the first quarter of next year, with maybe different people, maybe in Olympia, maybe different an outcome. If not, we'll probably sever maybe ties with PUD and be able to open up negotiations or talks with other companies that may have different options to use our gas.
Yeah, I'm not trying to undo our PUD.
I understand.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I don't think I'm suggesting the same thing.
No,
It's a raw product, like if somebody wanted to buy anything.
correct. Yeah, we're not saying
Yeah.
do the same project by any stretch. We're just saying right now, we've been
You're-
working so
you're
much
on
with
this
PUD.
path.
Once that was really for sure behind us and we sever ties, if we have to with
Agreed.
PUD, then we can go to these other companies and say, what do you have? There might be a
But
better
it's-
option out there.
This is probably a pretty long lead item and you want to hear what somebody could do with it. I mean, methane is a building block for a lot of stuff.
Okay. Thanks for your time today.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thanks for
it.
the extra.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.